All right, we'll just do it like this. 3, 2, 1. And Stefan, Niche, Kelly Ribel, welcome. How you doing?
Doing great.
Doing great.
Thanks for having us.
Arkham Realty in the building. Nice to have you all here. Nice. It's not as if we've been hanging out all day already. Let's just try to make this natural. Yeah. Let's just get to it.
Okay, sounds good.
Let's get to it.
Get right to it.
So in this, pseudo-friendly, pseudo-professional atmosphere here, do you mind if I swear?
Not at all.
Okay.
You can do whatever.
So fucking Arkham Realty in the house. Make some noise for the internet.
Thanks, internet. Hello.
I've already said your names. People should know who you are by now.
This is Brian.
Hi. Yes, I'm Brian. Hi. Hello. Introduce yourselves. Why don't you tell me a little bit about what Arkham Realty is, what y'all do, and all that.
So we're a full service real estate agency. We do property management for investors that own rental properties. We work with first-time home buyers. We help people sell their homes, and we manage these rental properties, and so we do a lot of leasing as well. That goes along with the whole property management aspect of it.
I feel like it's a really confusing world for a lot of people to get into, especially people that are maybe of a more alternative ilk, us goonballs that, spent the majority of our 20s getting tattooed, not going to school. It could be intimidating once you get a little bit older, you get your shit together thinking like, can I actually be a homeowner? Can I buy a place? Can I live somewhere affordably? How did the two of you get into deciding that you want to do this? Kelly, I don't know your background, but I definitely know his background, and I'm happy for this guy. That, not that you were ever in a terrible place or anything, but you're a business owner now. That's cool.
Thank you.
Kelly, how'd you get wrapped up in this?
Yeah, so I was teaching for a number of years, 15 years, and I was introduced to Stefan. He had heard that I wanted to buy my first rental property. And so through that introduction, he had brought me to a property that he thought was a good investment. And really kind of started there. That was the story. So he was my agent, and then he became my property manager. And we had really kind of just, maintained a friendship in addition to the business relationship. And then as I started to become more involved in the real estate world, Stefan just seemed like a likely person that I would go to in terms of, mentorship and just trying to feel out which direction I should go. So was it Arkham? Was it a different agency? Because we always hear about the larger names, and what was a better fit, and really trying to change the misconceptions, I think, of a lot of people that smaller brokerages can't offer the same services, when in fact that's not true. And so I thought that I would maybe shatter some misconceptions and go the route of joining the Arkham family. So it's kind of been history from there, being an investor, being an agent, now a property manager. So we'll see where it leads from this point. But,
so you were teaching prior to this.
Yeah.
What were you teaching, if you don't mind me asking?
So I taught for 15 years. I started out with an elementary certification. So here I am, student teaching with these little first graders and fourth graders. And then I got my first teaching job at working in a maximum security prison for all boys.
Okay.
So that was interesting for 3 years. And then just made the transition to secondary. So I had kind of remained, like my whole career was secondary education. I was a special ed teacher for, after I got my master's. So I guess that would be like 13 years.
Wow.
And and then I started to enter into the administrative world, I guess, of education. But still had that love of real estate. And
Yeah.
once I got my first flip done, it was in my blood.
It explains a lot. I don't know you super well, but you seem like a very patient and understanding person. And I imagine your background really has helped you in that journey.
Yeah.
And I imagine it's probably helping a lot now because, Stefan, maybe you can attribute to this as somebody that wasn't a teacher for 15 years. The amount of patience and understanding, but like hard-headedness that you need to be in the real estate business, I imagine is
I think
unbelievable.
The organizational piece really helps. Being able to guide people through a process that they're very unfamiliar with. So first-time home buyers, a first-time investor, or just, really any aspect of anything, being able to break that down and teach those pieces and present it in a way that makes it more relatable or understandable, less scary. So I think any of those skills that I had as a teacher kind of translate into whatever. But real estate, it just makes sense because there are just so many unknowns. And again, like you said, when you put your big boy or big girl pants on and you're looking to buy a house, that can be scary. And so trying to make it, as easy of a process has been, I think that's, my skills have definitely helped.
That's awesome. And Stefan, with your background, I know you got into this from much more of like a DIY entrepreneur. I don't want to have a fucking boss. Fuck you. Fuck this. I can do this.
Right.
And over the years, you've done it. Congrats.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
But I know it's not easy work. It's still a lot. And, over the past decade, did you feel like, okay, let's take everything up. I'm just kind of rubbing your balls a bit and I apologize.
I like it.
But 10 years ago,
yeah.
Did you have like a plan to be where you are now? Or has it been very much just take advantage of opportunities as they come?
Yeah. I got, what is it called? Tossed a couple balls and I ran with them. Speaking of balls. But, my main thing was always just to build my rental portfolio. So, I quit the office job stuff back in, like 10 years ago. And I started that landscaping business and I just put all my income towards buying these rental properties. And that was always kind of like the name of the game, like get more and more rental properties. Cause I figured the more rental properties I had, the less I had to work as far as like cutting grass goes or like, having to have a job or anything like that. But then it's, all those rental properties are also then work as well. I mean,
yeah.
If, most of the time things go pretty smoothly, you have a couple repair calls here and there, you show it, you have the vacancies and stuff like that. But then it's like, once your whole life starts revolving around real estate and all that, then it kind of just, it all kind of melts together. So like now all the stuff that I own personally flows through Arkham Realty's property management portion. So all that stuff is like, my stuff is managed through my own company. So it's like, I have that infrastructure to take care of my own places. But yeah, I mean, through that landscaping thing that I started, that's how I got hooked up with the company I was with that I got my license through. And I figured, the more different aspects of real estate, the better. So if I'm working for a real estate agency, then maybe I'll get like first dibs on, things that come down the pipeline. Like if there's like, I could be like part of the like in-network investors or something like that. And I just figured, like just another revenue stream. So that's when I got my real estate license and started doing like property management for other people because I'm already managing my own stuff. So, just building and branching out from everything. And, and then I was there for, what was it? Like 5 or 6 years. And then that's when I left to get my broker's license and start my own real estate agency. And, the whole office thing wasn't like really planned either. like having like an agency and having agents under me or anything like that either. I mean, the real estate commission requires that you have like a physical location. You can't just, hang your real estate license on your bedroom wall and, do stuff out of your kitchen. You have to have like a separate entrance. You have to have an office. You have to have a sign and all that stuff. And that's to protect the consumers, so there aren't like shady operations and things like that. So I just found the smallest possible office space available. And, I was like, I'm not even ever going to be here. I do all my work from my laptop and my cell phone. This is just like a place, with my name on the door. And then I was there all the time. And I was in there for, I don't know, and it was like an old storage room that they kind of like dressed up and painted for me and stuff. And I just made it look cool. And no windows. There was like one window overlooking the banquet hall. The banquet hall had a window, and I was able to see the outside for that through that. Like, oh, cool! It's still sunny out. But I got real like claustrophobic. I don't know, like burned out and claustrophobic in there after a while, and I found out that the office across the hall was available, and that's the one we're in now, and it has all the windows and the private entrance and all that stuff. And I figured, like, if I'm going to be here so much, I might as well be comfortable, and okay, I'll pay 3 times as much in rent, and luckily I did that, because when I bought CA properties at the beginning of the year, I actually had the space to accommodate everybody.
Yeah.
So it's like weird. It's like I did it without having that in mind. I just wanted more space for me.
Yeah.
And then luckily I did that, because
Well, you went from having one person to
Right.
what, 10, 12 right now?
Right,
Like,
yeah.
I don't know. 10.
yeah, it was just me. And then I think I hired Larkin like probably 2 or 3 months, maybe like a month or 2 after I was in the new spot. I had like a bookkeeper that came in, I think like once a week before that. So yeah, and then Kelly got her license at the beginning of this year as well. So so she came in, and then CA came in, and, just everything just to the next level with.
Yeah. The past year seems like it's been very like,
just
It's definitely a transition.
yeah.
everything's just put on steroids, just, I think we went from managing, because I was managing maybe like 100 units by myself, including my own crap, to what is it, like 750, 800 units. So definitely like
An increase.
yeah, just a little bit. But yeah, so here we are. And
Here we are.
my kind of, like I enjoy helping first-time home buyers. That's kind of like my favorite thing to do, going out there and just basically making the whole experience fun. Like, it shouldn't be like this stressful sort of tense thing. And I don't bullshit people either. Like I said, I have my rental properties. Like, I don't, not to sound like, I don't need to make the money or whatever like that, but it's like, it's not like a desperate sale where it's like, oh my God, if these people don't buy this house today, then I'm going to be bankrupt and I'm not going to be able to pay for my car. Like, I'm good. I just want the people to help them find the house that is right for them. And that just like creates an environment for like an honest, pressure-free sale. Like, I'm not going to bullshit somebody and say like, oh, look at this dishwasher. It's so shiny and blah. Like, cares, let's go down in the basement, check out the foundation. And there's going to, if there's a big crack in it, I'm going to say like, this place is like screwed. Like, don't buy this place.
Yeah.
I mean, and don't waste your money on a home inspection, because, everything might be fine in the house, but that's going to come up in the home inspection, and they're going to tell you like, hey, this is not good. Like, you should not buy this. So rather than you spending $400 and getting a home inspection and having a home inspector telling you like, oh, this place is going to fall over, I'll just tell you like right then and there, like, we're leaving. You're not buying this house. Let's go find something that is safe and sound and that you can live in for the rest of your life if you want.
Mhm.
So I just, just want to keep it real, keeping it real estate, and, and, none of this like pretentious, hoity-toity bullshit. That's like what I think really what sets us apart as like an agency, and there's none of these like egos and, oh, you're looking to buy a $40,000 house, so I'm sorry, I can't help you. I only deal with 250,000 people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I also want to be there for the people that are my people. Like I come from like the heavy metal scene, the tattoo scene, and that whole and blue collar workers. And I want to be there for those people and make them feel comfortable that they're going to be taken care of and not like, pushed aside or like looked down on or whatever like that. Cause I think there are people out there that are like, that like judge people. Like, I mean, I still get it from other agents too. Like I'll show up like this with my full sleeves, like for a showing, like I'm here with my clients to show them this house. And they're like, like, go fuck yourself. I got a pre-approval here in my bag for $250,000. Like, and my clients probably make more money than you.
Sure.
Miss hoity-toity agent, whatever. So I just think like, shit can kind of be like judgy in this industry. And my number's kind of like this with everything I do, like the advertising, my billboards, and, just like the whole like vibe and attitude that we have. Our office is fun. We have like kazoos and pizza parties and fake bananas. But the thing is like we do all this like fun bullshit and drink and have a good time. But we're just as professional as all these other agents and agencies, from these big companies. I mean, we're, obviously we're on MLS. We paid the same $10,000 initiation fee bullshit that they charge, just like all the other agencies had to go through, so just because we're Arkham Realty with, whatever, X amount of agents, whatever, we really licensed people, like probably, 10. And because Sue and Judy, I mean, they're more like in the property and property management end of things, but they're, licensed as well.
Yeah, we're just not cookie cutter. Our personalities definitely kind of show through, I think, with varying backgrounds, varying interests and so forth. But yeah, I think
everybody brings something different to the table. Like Kelly and I are actually complete opposites. I mean, like she's super organized and I have no idea where any probably take me like 10 minutes to find like an email, and she has like everything like in a trapper keeper, and like
he makes fun of my binders and my folders, but
there's
someday
like
he's going to need those binders
inserts
and folders.
I have one of those too.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
She has great suggestions, like, can we put together a list of this? And can we, I'm like, yeah, okay. And
and then he hits delete on that, by the way. So great ideas that he hits delete or just ignores until I go away, but don't worry, I don't forget. I'll just bring it up at a different time. Yeah. So yeah, I think everyone just complements one another, and we're super supportive and not competitive. And, above all, even though we're investors as well, always putting our clients first and their needs, and, helping them grow. Because I think a lot of times, you find people that are, they're competitive, and I'm not saying necessarily petty. It's just that it's a competitive business. But, clients first, our goals are always the same. And I think it's just a great working environment. It's definitely like a family at Arkham. We kind of just sometimes have to drop what we're doing for a moment and realize what's important, coming together for staff birthday party. That's important.
Friday at noon.
Yeah.
Sue's
but I'm
birthday.
just saying it's important. We oftentimes get immersed in everything else, but, making sure that we take care of not only the professional part and the financial part and the clients, but also the personal and the mental health, making sure everything is kind of balanced so that we're better off for the people that we're serving.
Yeah. And I also just wanted, like, I like creating an experience for the people. Yeah. Like, I have like the people love the whole like title championship belt thing that they get to hold for the picture and all that stuff. And like, I have like a little sign that says like sold as fuck, like.
I do not like holding the belt. Just AF. FYI, I do not, but I've held that belt a few times.
Pretty sure there's a picture of you in the, there it is right there.
I should
right
just
there
hold,
with Elin.
I should just hold a poodle. Although no one would kind of get that.
You know what? No, I'm going to get you like a giant bling bling poodle necklace, like those Furbies from Uncut Gems with the eyes that move.
Yeah. See, I don't even know the Furbies. Am I supposed to? Do I have to have kids to know that, or is that just living that was like from out 90s? Under a rock? Because I feel like sometimes I live under a rock.
Yeah, I'll show you a Furby.
I think the thing that is really cool about what you're all doing is that, as you mentioned, Kelly, it's more than just about making the sale. I think it's about establishing relationships with your clients, establishing relationships with your coworkers. And, this is your career. This is your job. This is your everyday. Why would you not want to facilitate positive relationships with the people that you're around all the time?
Well, and that's just it. Like, I feel like if we're fostering growth, if we have that mindset, we're all growing in one way or another. If he's mentoring me, he's growing because he's refreshing, like maybe what I need to learn, or, we want to see each other succeed. That's not always the case. Like, I have found that you don't always find that among, colleagues or, whatever that may be. I mean, it could be a part-time job, working somewhere.
Sorry to interrupt you. I don't know what you're talking about right now. This is a Furby.
Looks like a gremlin.
Yeah, that's what it's like. I think it's based on a Mogwai.
Oh, yeah.
And gremlins start as a Mogwai. But if you feed them after 12 or put water on them, then they turn into a gremlin.
Well, I'm in bed by 12, so
I was totally listening to what you were saying, actually, and I'm glad that you appreciate that. Because that's kind of been there you go. Because that's kind of been my thing lately.
Look at this custom Furby. This thing is frightening looking.
It's.
I like this little one to the right of it with the yellow nose. That. It looks all kind of stoned and miserable.
Well, where that whole poodle thing came from.
Oh, yeah.
So Stefan and I were out looking for investment properties. And so we had all these showings set up. He had them set up for me. And every property that we were going to, somehow there was a poodle involved. Like, we would see a little statue of a poodle.
The first time we met, there wasn't a poodle in a restaurant?
Yeah. I mean, it was just like, this poodle kept showing up. I'm like, okay, is there a sign? Is there some, I don't know, meaning behind a poodle? But nonetheless.
I knew I should have worn my poodle socks
It was, yeah, well, again, here's the lack of organization.
Socks instead.
Yeah, if you could find the other one.
Couldn't really see anything.
Right?
No,
that's okay.
Do they want to see it?
No.
I don't think people want to see my feet.
This
isn't the foot podcast.
But again, the point goes back to we had fun. We had fun. We stopped for cocktails, but we made that into a conversation and we developed a friendship. And I think that's, if you're going to invest with someone, especially when it comes to property management, you need to trust them. You need to know what their style is, their personality. Anyone could just slap a property management sign and, and pass themselves off for something. But not only would that be, not legal, but nonetheless, they probably wouldn't know what the hell they're doing. Right. So, knowing that if I'm working and I have to be responsible for all these students and their learning and their targets, like, I need to know that my stuff is being taken care of because I have that personality of organization and like a little bit of, maybe not a little, maybe intense, a lot intense, but nonetheless, knowing that Stefan is going to handle that. So
I may not do it like in the excellent fashion that Kelly does with her binders and things, but I still get it done.
You do.
And it might be a little bit weird and obscure, You know, like if we're going to go out and look at houses together, we're probably going to start out with some brunch and some Bloody Marys, and then we're going to go look at houses.
Right.
And we're more than likely going to make fun of 9 out of 10 of those houses that we see that day because of the like ridiculous listing.
I'm pretty sure the one we went to, here's prime example. He takes me to one that has no steps and is selling it to me like, this is easy. This is an easy place. I'm like,
see, but for me, it's like, you know, I've done this like so many times, and this was like her first.
The water had crystallized like on a sea.
So that's it. When I'm showing somebody an investment property, I do kind of get like pushy as far as like trying to motivate somebody, because you know,
like a place that you're going to have to put work into.
Yeah, because it's scary every time. It's like you're buying this shit box. You have no idea what the electric is. You have no, you know, like it's scary like the first 10 times that I bought a place for myself, I was like,
my God, that's a different kind of client, though, I'd imagine.
And I don't think and honestly, I don't know that he was necessarily really going to let me purchase that place, but the fact that it did have a sign that said, "Don't forget to take your meds," was on the wall on a piece of paper, was kind of amusing. So if nothing else, it was an amusing day. And since, you know, I've gone on to buy, you know, a few rental properties, still looking for others. But, you know, again, it kind of all goes back to supporting each other, helping us grow. We help each other grow. If something, let's say he has a client, I find something for that client, I know that I can pass it along. It's not, I don't feel like I lost anything because that's what we do.
Yeah. It's just like really, you know, like team Arkham. And and that's kind of like, I've actually taken like a step back from working with clients. And I mean, I've a good amount of listings right now that are being advertised and stuff, but that kind of goes into what I'm about to say next is I'm more so focusing on advertising the team. Like I want to push everybody like out there. That's why I'm putting like, you know, the whole hashtag Team Arkham out there right now to like really get views and eyes on Kelly, David, Eli, and the whole brand as a whole. Whereas it started out as just me, you know, Arkham Realty, one-man show kind of a thing. Yeah. And now I'm kind of just, rather than, you know, me pursuing getting listings and pursuing for myself and pursuing getting buyer's agents for myself, I'm almost just like acting as like a net, like and just pass it off onto them. And I want to see them succeed and roll with that and go with that.
And you have been instrumental in the growth aspect of it. I mean, again, like, hey, give this person a call, like, and they're all diverse. I mean, every client is so different. You know, they come, again, it could be a first-time home buyer, but it could be someone that has an FHA loan, someone that has a conventional loan, but they need to understand that there's different types of, you know, different, I don't want to say types of conventional loans, but maybe like what you can put down. I mean, there's just so many different things.
Sure, like, yeah.
And so he's exposing his team, me probably the most recently, just because I'm the newest, to all those different scenarios. So getting a really good handle on everything real estate. I mean, now taking on four units as a property manager. I mean, that's going to be interesting and
that's a whole other, there's so many different aspects to it. You know, like I said, we do the property management. So that's like this whole like skill set and kit and caboodle and all these like documents and forms that go along with that. And then being a buyer's agent, you know, that's a whole different process. And then getting the listings, that's a whole other process too. And a whole other set of documents and things that procedures you have to do to get that place listed and advertised. So it's, you know, when someone says like, oh, what do you do? And they say, oh, I do real estate. It's like, basically like, you know,
you're like a car salesman, you know, no offense, you know, they automatically think you're pushing something.
But you could be like in development, you could be property management, you could just own your own rentals. You know, there's so many, it's like basically like, what do you like to drink? And someone says, you know, fluids. Yeah. You know, it's actually like a really broad term, But, you know, some people are typically, I think it's, you know, people that are like actual just realtors. And I think that's another different thing about us is that I think most agents are just like agents. They don't get into maybe owning their own rentals or the whole property management or like working with investors. Maybe they think
they might say that they do those things, but to actually do them and understand and work with them, I mean, it's different to say that you've worked with an investor, but to actually work with an investor through many processes or for them to come back and be a repeat client, you know, that you're out there looking for investment properties, not just someone that says like, hey, can you write up a sales contract for me? That's different, I think, than being an agent that really understands the investment aspect or process.
It's a whole other thing for sure.
I think it's really cool that you all take the time to absorb probably more and do more than you realistically need to, but it's making you more knowledgeable about the entire process. So you can walk through a house with somebody and you have the confidence to say like, nope, this isn't it, because I know how A, B, and C is going to work and it's going to be a pain in the ass. You don't even want to fuck with it.
Right.
Instead of someone that's just like, well, you know, I don't understand how this and this work, but the price seems fine. Whatever. I just want to sell it, or I just want to make my money. I
mean, I've encountered agents that don't like know anything about houses. Like I have like somewhat of a like construction background, you know, like I've messed around with framing and drywall and I've been on so many home inspections, you know, so I know a good amount of like things to look for, you know, but I've encountered agents that just don't know anything about, I'm not like just, you know, bad mouthing other agents, like you should go with us because everyone else is an idiot. But it is a thing where there's like people, like there's agents out there that don't know like basic shit about a house, like
sure,
like a GFI. Like
it's the concept of like, you know, somebody trying to sell me a house that has maybe never even like worked on their own place in some capacity, or like has an idea of how, you know, what the pipes under the sink do. Like, I know it's not your job to know that, but also like if you're a curious person that's into this world, you think you would want to know how that stuff works and be able to look at it and be like, that's fucked up. Yeah, or that's not.
And that's kind of like my thing too. Like if we go out and look at stuff, like it's almost like a pre-home inspection with me. It's not just like, oh, let's look at the rooms. Like I'm under the sink with my flashlight, like looking for corrosion and, you know, what if there's like a P trap or an S trap and, you know, stuff like that, you know, where I'm just looking for things that could possibly be an issue. Like, again, don't waste your money on a $400 home inspection if this place isn't gonna, we already know it's not gonna fly.
I mean, yeah.
Why waste your money?
Yeah.
Why waste your time?
I think that the thing that's really cool, also, I keep on saying this, but there's a lot that I think is cool about what y'all are doing.
Thank you.
Not even just because you're my friends. I think that there's this stigma against like maybe like the concept of a landlord or like somebody that sells homes or somebody in your position where it's like, oh, they don't fucking do anything, and it's so far from the truth. Maybe there are some people that don't do anything.
They just they open the door, and granted with COVID, it has kind of been that a little bit, you know, where it's like we're gonna open this door and you get to look, and then we'll take it from there. But even with that, I don't think I could, you know, if that's what the rule was, you know, then I would like let them go look, and then I would have my own look and then compare notes if we had to do social distancing like that. You know, where I still take a look as well and be an advisor.
Yeah.
As to not just like, oh, did you look at it? Did you think it's pretty? You know, this thing is like an organic like thing, you know, it's like a living, breathing thing. That's how I see houses. And, you know, I want to take a look at it too, you know, not just to see if they think it's pretty.
Yeah. I mean, houses are like, you know, they're no different than a pair of shoes or any clothes that somebody would wear. I mean, they get lived in and things get fucked up. And, you know, there's a difference between, you know, a house that's lived in by, you know, like our house is a mess, but it's not like a piece of shit. But there are definitely houses that, you know, I'm sure you've seen them. You go into them, you're just like, these people ruined this fucking place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you have to like not bullshit people, even if like you're getting a good price for something. A lot of the time, I guess like you get what you pay for is sort of a thing.
Right. True.
And then, but you know, I think just having that empathy of understanding that, you know, even if it's not something that is for you, maybe, you know, it's in your client's budget, and being able to be like, well, there's this and this that's wrong with it. But if it works for you, you know, it's ultimately up to you and what you want to do.
Some people, they want that. They want a fixer upper.
Yeah.
You know, so it depends, you know, like you're always adjusting. You always have to adjust to your client.
Right. I mean, I know when I bought my first house, I couldn't afford a $200,000 house. And so it definitely needed, you know, it needed some work. But, you know, every year I saved for a project, you know, and so there are clients out there that's what they have to do. I mean, they save for a project, and each year you do something and until it gets to where you want it to be. And then you just do things to maintain or make it, you know, I don't know. I don't want to say like updated, but, you know, make sure that it remains where nothing's falling apart. So always having a project, you know, again, it just goes back to that where you have diverse clients, you have different budgets. And also, let's say you have someone who wants to live in a certain area. They can't afford the best house in that neighborhood. They just want to get into the neighborhood.
Yeah. For like a school district or something, you know.
Right. So, I mean, you know, we deal with all kinds of
and then, you know, not to mention
scenarios.
the whole, like the whole renters, like dealing with the renters, making sure that the people that rent through us are taken care of. And that's sometimes a battle too, because, you know, sometimes like, let's say we'll have an investor contact us and say, I have these 20 rental properties that need managed. And we say, okay, cool. Let's, you know, check them out and see what this is all about. And then 2 months in, this owner, this investor, he doesn't want to pay for this repair. He doesn't want to pay for that repair. He doesn't want to do this. And then the tenants, you know,
we take the hit on that.
Right.
You know, there's kind of an interesting thing where, you know, I was understandably pretty ignorant, I think, to how a lot of this works, as most people are. Like, why would anybody realize this? It's almost like a movie where people are like, oh, George Lucas made Star Wars, right? He's the director. He made the whole movie.
Right.
But there's so many people behind the scenes that are managing all the other little details. And I feel like there's so much of that in real estate where it's like, oh, like there's different property, like you're doing 10 different things for 10 different reasons in 10 different places. And like, you know, just because you're managing something doesn't mean you own it, even though there are places that you own. And it's like this mixture of things. I think it's hard for a lot of people to like, oh, like it's easy to be like, well, fuck them because of this. And it's like, well, it's not necessarily their fault because there's like all this continuous red tape that you're going through.
It's easy for us to get like shitty reviews, and it's like, you know, and then it falls back onto the realty aspect of it, where it's like, let's say we have a tenant who's unhappy because the owner doesn't want to pay for the repair. And then they might write a review and say, you know, fuck Arkham Realty. They didn't do this, blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, somebody that's just wanting to buy a home looks at that review. Sure. And then it's like, this has nothing to do with, you know, us like being like providing realty services. So we kind of like, you know, get, you know, it's easy to get like lumped together in that regard. So that's like the downside to being a one-stop shop. You know what I mean? Because I think a lot of other companies, they either do this one thing or that one thing. And then it's like you're judged and reviewed based on that one thing. And then it's almost like a fair review. Yeah. But it's not, you know, you don't have like all these like different clienteles kind of looking at you and then basing your judgment on us on something that you're not even
right. But you make a good point. I mean, there are so many working parts that people don't know. They automatically say, oh, I want to buy an investment property. Oh, you could just manage it, right? Like they don't, and what do you charge for that? And then when you give them a percentage, wait, well, that's too expensive. Or, you know, they have to understand that there are costs associated with that, you know, having to maintain insurance and a license and having staff that you need to call. And so there are so many working parts like you said, that people aren't seeing, but they don't do shows on that.
Sure.
There's not, there's not a reality show on property management or what that looks like. Again, it's hard work, but we love it
I
because
think there was something with like crazy tenants once.
oh, really?
Oh, I'm
And,
sure
like,
it was
yeah,
something
it was
real.
This goes back to me
Orders,
maybe not watching
yeah.
television much,
Well,
but
you're better off.
HGTV. I know. I just don't do it, but we do it because we are those people. We're investors, so someone has to do it, and obviously we're trying to. That's our living, and so we want to keep the investors, those people that have properties. We want to have tenants there that are paying. It's not our goal to have something sit there. So, we do work hard to try to keep renters happy and landlords happy and everyone, is happy as they can be, I guess. But it's tough.
You can't make everybody happy.
Right.
No.
It's always like a give and take kind of a thing. A
Right.
lot of landlords that we manage for, they're, old school maybe. And they're like, if they're late, get them out, evict them right now. And I'm like, let's calm down. Let's work with these people. Let's put them on a payment plan. Let's see what we can do. Because like everybody hits like a tough spot, like maybe someone's car exploded or something and they're kind of falling behind. Let's see what the story is here. If I call a tenant 3 or 4 times and they're ignoring me and the calls, I'm like, hey, I'm trying to work something out with you here because the landlord wants you gone. Like, what can we do?
Mm-hmm.
And then I can't do anything else other than evict if you're not going to pick up the damn phone and try to work something out.
Yeah.
But rather than just throwing somebody out, from the landlord's perspective, it's like, why? Let's see what we can work out with them, because if we kick them out right now, A, you're not going to get your money through the courts, and then B, you're going to have the place be vacant for a month or 2.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we fill
And
places pretty quick.
Yeah, it's no guarantee that they're not going to fuck it up and you're going to have to do a shit ton of repairs and
Exactly.
all that stuff too
Right.
in between.
Or like they appeal the eviction. That's another month. And then they're extra
You're
pissed off.
creating so much more work for yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the point is, it's not an easy job. I mean, right? I mean,
Totally.
there's so many things that people don't realize that go into this business: property management, agent, investor, whatever hat you're wearing, I guess.
I think the biggest, honestly, like this is like, I almost wanted to like do this podcast just for this reason, just to like get the message out there.
Okay.
I think like one of the biggest misconceptions or things that people don't realize, or things that like in a way like screw us, is people think that they have to go buy the house with the listing agent.
Oh, yeah.
Like there's this thing, it's buyer's agency. So if you're looking to buy a house, you can contact us and we can show you any house on the market, whether it's with this agency or that agency, or listed with this person, listed with that person. That's the seller's agent. And you should have like designated agency, I think. I mean, where you have somebody representing you as the buyer.
Yeah. Like a lawyer almost.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're allowed to do dual agency. And like when I have a listing, of course, I love it when a buyer reaches out to me directly, and then I'm still, a dual agent. I represent them accordingly, and I represent my seller accordingly, properly. And, that's like a scenario where, because there's like a commission split, right? The seller pays for the commission of the sale. And if that agent that has the property for sale finds the buyer, they get like that entire commission. But if, a buyer's agent brings in the buyer, then that commission is split.
I got you.
That's, but I guess what I'm getting at is that I think like, people see a house for sale, like on Zillow or something like that. And then, and then they maybe just contact the listing agent directly. And then they're automatically in that dual agency scenario rather than having
someone represent them.
Yeah. Exclusively.
Yeah. I want to know that someone has my back, that they're representing me through that entire process. There's not a conflict. Not to say that an agent would do that, but sometimes that may be difficult.
I just think
don't
it's,
know.
you're not going to, I mean, I guess the thing is like, I'm brutally honest. So if I'm your buyer's agent, like I said, I'm going to tell you like, hey, this place is shit. Like, I think if there's a listing agent, they're not going to be as brutally honest because they're still having to represent the seller.
Yeah.
And if the seller finds out, like they said, like, hey, this place is shit, like that's not, being a loyal agent, of course. So I just think it's more like cut and dry when you have your own buyer's agent. So it's like, I think people don't realize that you can be in the market for a house and reach out to us and say, hey, I'm looking to buy a house. Let's go look at all these houses. Like, I think that's how it should work. And that's how typically it does work. But I think there's still like that misconception out there. It's like, if you want this, like car buying, for instance, like you found this 2020 Jeep Wrangler at number 1 Cochrane, like you go there to buy that product.
Right.
Sure.
Cause that's who has it. But yeah, I just think that's like a huge misconception that people don't know that every agent can show you every listing, any property on the market.
Yeah. I never knew that. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's huge. Like I said, I just want to I almost want to make that like an infomercial on my Facebook.
Yeah.
Did you know that we can show you any place?
It's kind of surprising to me.
Yeah.
It's like, I never would have even thought that would be a thing. And that was one of the things that, like, because whenever you were doing this stuff and I was pretty removed from it until like, we started working together a little bit more and hanging out more. And, now I'm always around and I'm hearing y'all talk about shit and I get an idea of what's going on. I never realized that was a thing. I always figure like, oh, okay, well, like, you have, your X amount of houses to sell and your rental properties, and that's all you do.
Right. Like,
but there's so much, that's only just like, that's like a percentage of it.
And people are always like, what listings do you have? And they think that they have to go with us just based on the 20 listings we currently have or whatever. Like, this is all we have, this is your pick.
Yeah.
But it's not, it's like,
But the one difference in that respect is that we cannot show anyone any rental property that we don't manage.
Okay.
So I've come across that a lot.
Yeah.
So it's something with like home seller laws or regulations or something, or is it just like I
think for most of the rentals out there, we unless the rentals are somehow listed on MLS, we have like no real way or special way of searching for them other than what you would do on Zillow, for instance, like if you were searching rentals on Zillow. But typically, like from what I've encountered is that there's not a lot of times where there's a commission offered on
a rental.
On
how would that work? Yeah.
Right. So it's basically whoever manages that rental. But I've had people ask me that question. Oh, can you show any rental that's out there? So if something is available, let's say in the Strip District that's up for rent.
What if it was like a commercial rental? Is that different?
So a commercial rental
That's
would
what we
be,
just had that inquiry the other day too.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that would be, I guess a little different, right?
Sometimes those are listed on MLS.
Right.
It just depends, but it's not like typical, where it's like, I'm going to find, like if you tell me you want to buy a place, you want to buy a 3-bedroom place with a 1-car garage, I can put that search into MLS, West Penn Multi-List, and I can pull that up and probably find something that another agent posted or listed.
Yeah.
But there's no there's no real, not all rentals get listed on MLS. And if maybe if that was a thing, and then there was like a description of like paying X amount of commission on that and stuff, then that would be a different scenario, and it would be like more efficient. Cause let's say I could spend like doing this rental search for like, you know, somebody looking for a 2-bedroom apartment to rent or whatever, and I find something or whatever, and I could call, you don't know if it's listed with an owner, like a private owner. You don't know if it's listed with a property management company like us. And you call, and then it's like, you don't even know, like, hey, are you offering a commission for this and stuff like that?
That's a weird question.
You know, so it's tough. Like, I mean, I would love to just, you know, do that all day, but like at the end of the day, like I do have to get, you know, compensated for my time.
Yeah.
And, you know, so it gets into like a weird kind of like gray area with that, where there's nothing as kind of official as there is with home buying, where it's like, this is the listing, you know, this is the commission that's being paid, and here's the how to find it. This is how you show it. Like, so, because the whole thing with West Penn Multilist, the way it runs, it's all like on a lockbox system. So we have like an MLS app that we can access all these houses with. Like, it's like a Bluetooth lockbox, and once we put in our code, we can then show that house. And
and it's registered.
Yeah.
That we've entered that.
Yeah.
Right.
That property.
And so it's kind of weird. It's like all these agencies, in a sense, actually do work together, you know? So, but with rentals, you don't, it's just like a shot in the dark. You have no idea.
Sure. It's a little bit more of a Wild West sort of
there
thing.
Could be like a contractor lockbox on there. Like, I doubt that there would be an MLS lockbox unless, I mean, for a $750 a month apartment rental or something, like, people are more than likely not going to spend the money to have it listed on MLS.
Yeah.
Right.
And then want to spend the money to pay a commission or something like that. So it's all
right. So it's usually independent, or it's through a property management company. But I've had that question asked numerous times, like, oh, can you show rentals as well? I'm like, we can show you anything that we manage. Absolutely.
I think it's a different thing in like New York or something like that, where that's,
I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe.
Yeah. I think they probably have a whole different thing because of, I think the majority of that city being rentals. I don't know. I mean,
it could be rentals. They might also, I wouldn't be surprised if there was just like a different rental structure where it's like, you know, you're paying in like quarterly chunks versus monthly chunks or something like that.
I've heard all kinds of weird stuff where like, it's like you have to apply before you can even see the place. It's like you're applying to apply. And these like application fees are like $100 just to apply to see it.
That's a market in general, probably.
Yeah. They're probably just making like $500,000 a year on the application fees or something. Like, we just have like one like $50 application fee, and that's like criminal background check and all that stuff, like credit check. And that's after you actually see the place, though. And after you're actually sure you actually want to live there. Because there is a clause in the application that states if you're approved, you have to sign the lease. So we just want to make people aware of that. You know, we don't want to like have them apply it and get approved for something that they actually don't want. You know, because some people do just like willy-nilly apply. And then we have this application, and then it's like, we're like running it. We're sending it to the owner. Like, hey, we got this application. They look really good. Credit looks good. No criminal background. They didn't kill anybody. And, and then 3 days later, you know, we hear back from the owner, like, okay, cool. Yeah, that's good. You know, cause we manage stuff, for people like out of overseas and stuff like that. So out of state, we hear back, and then we get back to the potential tenant. And we say, hey, you're approved. Yay. And they're like, oh, never mind. I was just joking, or, you know, like, I don't know, you know, like, I don't want that place anymore or something. Yeah. And then meanwhile, you know, so there's been now 3 or 4 days that we haven't shown this place because we thought, hey, we got this application. So we had to add that clause in there just to basically not waste anyone's time.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And at the same time, it protects the applicant too, because it's like, look, you're spending this $50, so don't waste it.
With commercial property, I'm really curious, like, how dramatically different or not different is that in terms of like selling and renting and things like that? Because there's like probably different zoning and all these other weird regulations that go into it. Do you have to like know about those things to be in that game?
Yeah, there's like special designations for that, and we occasionally get into that. You know, like I sold a commercially zoned church to a client a few months back. And, you know, that was kind of like a whole different, there's different aspects to that as well that come into play. But we don't do it nearly enough to like be, you know, just full blown commercial real estate or anything like that.
Yeah.
But
Right.
I feel like that's just like a whole nother can of worms, probably.
oh yeah.
It's probably way more cutthroat too in some markets.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that is like more so like based on like square footage and things like that too, where, you know, I don't think it's like really the case for, I mean, you can
Right,
base
residential.
some appraisal aspects on residential,
Yeah.
on square footage, but
I imagine it's a lot less personal too. Probably that whole environment. You're not like really making friends and establishing relationships. Just kind of like a, you know, whatever, you want to put a fucking juice bar in here, let's just fucking make it happen. I don't care.
It depends. I mean, I think I could see it being that way though, because I think a lot of places they may offer build to suit. And that's kind of what Penn Brewery did for me with that like storage thing. That thing was just a, you know, storage not 4x4, I don't know, 20x20 box.
Mhm.
And I was, you know, I said, hey, I need a little conference room over here, and this is the color that I want. And there was like that kind of like hands-on type of thing. And it was almost like a little mini project that I got to do with them. So I think it can be too, where if it's like a build to suit thing.
That's cool.
But I'm sure there's like a lot of places too that just rent out these shells, and it's like, do whatever the hell you want in here.
Yeah.
You know,
I
as
don't
long
know.
as it's like up to code and whatever. So
Mhm.
I think it can go either way.
With first time a first time home buyer,
Mhm.
right? Like I have never bought a home. I will one day, probably. I would like to think so.
Mhm.
You know, it could be, I always feel like there's just no way that I could ever do it, even though like my credit is fine and I have some money. Like, am I like a dumbass for thinking this? Like, how hard really is it to buy a house?
It's not.
In
I
general.
think it's just a matter of like finding the one that you want. And then other than that, I mean, like Kelly can like explain the steps of what happens. You know, it all kind of starts with a pre-approval
Right.
from your lender, or unless you're paying cash, it doesn't matter. But
Right. So I think just having a conversation with a lender, figuring out what you have to put down. So that really helps you figure out if you're going the route of an FHA loan, if you're going down the route of a conventional loan, and feel free to jump in anytime. But
maybe elaborate on like the difference between FHA.
yeah, so an FHA loan, you don't have to put as much down. So you'd put like 3.5% of the purchase price, plus you'd have your closing costs and so forth. But with the FHA loan, there are some rules with that. So, you know, the lender wants to make sure that they're getting their money. So in order to protect themselves, they need to know that there's additional insurance, and it's called a Pmi insurance, or PMI. So you have to purchase additional insurance and pay for that until you get that 20%, 80% split. You know, because normally the home buyer, the lender needs to put 20% down. So until you get to that point where it equals 20%, you know, you have to have this PMI. And at that point, once you've reached that, it drops. So there's that 3.5% that you can put down.
The FHA also has like their own set of inspections, their own
Right.
appraisal. So you can buy like something with a conventional loan through whatever bank, and they're going to have their appraisal to make sure it like books out. Like, so if the sales price is 200,000, like it actually is worth 200,000. They're not giving you a $200,000 mortgage on something that's only worth like $10,000 or
Sure.
something, you know. But FHA will come out and like make sure that there's like handrails, there's no peeling paint. Like they want to make sure it's like a sound structure. So if you're an investor and you're looking to buy like some shit box that you want to fix up, I mean, like FHA is not going to be the route to go. But a lot of that is like out of our hands too. Like we have like certain lenders that we recommend, and we say, hey, go, you know, apply with them and let us know what they can't come up with. Because a lot of times like we're not lenders, we're not mortgage brokers.
That shit's out of your control.
Yeah, that's like a whole different genre, like business. Yeah. And then there's loan products out there that we don't even know, like that just came out yesterday or something like that, and we maybe like hear about them every once in a while. Like I know, like
incentives, like so you as a first time home buyer, there may be an incentive by a particular lender or someone that they can offer you additional money toward your loan, or maybe you qualify for some other incentive. Again, I can't speak for all of them that are out there, but there are incentives. So maybe you can get a conventional loan. Maybe it's not an FHA, but maybe it's a conventional, and instead of 20% down, there's a conventional loan that you can get and you put 5% down, still needing that PMI because it's not quite, you're not at the 20-80 split, but again, still incentives. You're still a first-time home buyer. Maybe there's something else that you qualify for. Maybe, who knows what that may be. So there are different types of loans that you can qualify for. FHA being one that Stefan mentioned, different qualifications for their appraisal. Conventional, you wouldn't have to meet that criteria for the appraisal. So if it didn't have a handrail, okay, then
unless it's like a local ordinance thing or something. So like it varies sometimes with townships and stuff like that. Yeah. So that's a whole other thing.
Right. Because each borough or township has their own set of rules. Maybe you have to get, some places require an occupancy permit, or inspection. And so they have to come in to make sure that it meets their criteria. Again, that's part of the buying process, part of what your agent should be going through with you, but nothing that I think would be scary by any means.
And a lot of that stuff is like up to the seller, so like if you end up getting a home inspection and this local property inspection or occupancy inspection and all this stuff comes back, like this is bad, blah, 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 that all gets presented to the seller. And then it's like a new round of negotiations, whether or not they want to fix this or, most of the time, like it makes sense for them to fix it because otherwise if they don't,
they're not going to be able to sell the fucking place.
The deal is done. Yeah. And then it goes back on the market. And then everybody that wants to see it again, the first thing that they say is like, oh, this place was contingent last week. What happened? I see it's back on the market. And then it's like, you have to submit that whole home inspection report anyway. Yeah. And then it's like, you're right back to where you were. So just get it fixed, right. Especially like the major things basically. But yeah, just to like, I don't know, these are like so many like branching off into like so many like little details and stuff like multiple scenarios. But basically it all starts with getting
contacting
your pre-approval, contacting your realtor,
and finding out what you can afford.
And then, so with the pre-approval, you find out what you can afford. And then you can tell your agent, this is what I'm looking for. Like, hey, I can afford $150,000 house. So we'll probably put your like search criteria up to like maybe like 175 because
you may be able
to negotiate down for you. And then it's just a matter of running around for a month looking at houses.
That was my next question is I think that if anything, I think the thing that intimidates me the most about buying a home would be the timing of it. Because I feel like there's probably impossible to predict how long the process would take.
Right.
I mean, it might be a little bit easier for me because I'm not in a position where I'm trying to sell a place and then buy another place. I just have
that's a tough one.
A lease, right?
Yeah.
So, but still, even with timing that and, being on a lease, if you are, if I have a landlord that's very strict, like, well, you're signed here until November, you're going to be here till November. Well, it's like, okay, well, when do I start putting in for a place and how do I?
It's a good question.
I mean, I think the real estate market kind of is like March through October kind of a thing. So if you're currently in a lease, I would just tell your most reasonable landlords are fine with a 60-day notice.
Yeah.
That gives them plenty of time to do what they got to do. They get it shown, re-rented, fixed up, blah, blah, blah. And you're still paying rent until then. So I think, if you like, let's say you renew your lease this November, I would say, hey, can we do something where we renew our lease all the way till March And then from March to October, it's on a month to month because we're looking to buy a house. We'll give you a 60-day notice. It'll probably be, because you figure like, even if you found your dream house today, you're going to have at least like 60 days time before it closes.
Yeah.
Because until your loan is like actually like, processed. And then there's the title search. So there's at the very end of all this
inspection.
Yeah, the inspections, the title
so
search.
It could be a 2-3 month process.
Right. I mean, most closings, like if we put in an offer for you right now, you have like this 10-day inspection period where you get to perform all the inspections that you elected on your sales contract. So you can like test for radon, lead, blah, 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 whatever you want. Usually it's the typical home inspection, radon, and like pest, like for like wood destroying insects and things like that. And then you have, 10, 14 days to conduct your inspections and then get back to the seller and say, hey, this is what we found. Everything looks good. Let's go with this. And then typically it's like another, 45 days until closing. Like most closings, like in the contract, you put in your offer, you have your inspection contingencies, and then you say, if everything's fine and dandy, we'll be closing. Usually like if it's a cash deal, it's like 30 days out.
Yeah. I mean, usually
Between
mine
30
are
and
like
60.
40. Yeah, like 45. But it depends.
I've done closings that were like 28 days,
I think COVID presents its own set of challenges.
Oh, yeah.
I think the not only COVID, but interest rates have proven to put lenders behind, because there's so many people that are trying to buy houses because the interest rates were much lower. So things, closings that we thought would take, between 30 and 45 days are taking 60 plus days.
Mm-hmm.
So I think different variables bring its own set of
it's all kinds of like that
challenges.
Commercially zoned church that took like 5 months because it was owned by a company that had its main offices in New York. And there was like nobody there to like process any of the title work or any of that stuff. And it just like sat there and we were just waiting. And my buyer was like, hey, any news? Like, what's going on? What can we do to get this rolling? I'm like, there's nothing I can do. It's just screwed right now.
You're at the mercy of
But there was other deals that I had going through in the meantime because it wasn't through New York or something like that. I still had some deals in the pipeline. Wasn't there like some cutoff, like any deal before March 28th could still close? And then there was like, some people were like, oh, we can't get a home inspector in there. And that's like, the only way we can get a home inspector in there is if you meet them there. And it was all kinds of crazy shit to get some of these deals done and still have it be under regulation and safe and ethical. And, but it was a lot of, and then like you were allowed to do home inspections, but then you couldn't find any home inspectors that would do it. Like, it was.
Yeah. But I think once you get through the inspection period, you have your pre-approval, you're going through the inspection period. Once you get through that, I think those are the two hardest pieces, honestly, because, the inspection report is so long and people get freaked out over the report. But once you can get through that, everything else, like as long as you're not going out and purchasing something large, like if you're applying for a loan, you should not be going and buying a car, and your lender should tell you that. You should not be going out and, putting $20,000 on your credit card. Yeah. Absolutely not. So if there's no major changes in your financial history or your current financial status, everything else should be moving relatively smoothly. Again, unless there's something that happens like COVID or with a title search and maybe there's a clouded title, something that's unforeseen. Outside of that, it shouldn't be that hard.
I think what Brian said is like probably like the timing, and then also like what we do is like once you get your pre-approval and you tell us like we're looking at these areas, the easiest thing is if somebody says we're looking at this school district.
Yeah.
Because that encompasses like, all these different areas. You know, it's not just like, oh,
Right.
we want to live in Carnegie, but then like, oh, like the house that you really want is in Crafton, but all we did was search in Carnegie. But if you say like, I want to be in,
Right.
I don't know, Fox Chapel School District, then it like automatically selects all those neighborhoods, all those areas. So that makes the search nice and easy.
Right.
That's cool.
And sometimes even people without kids, they want to be in a certain school district too for like resale value or.
I swear to God, I just had that conversation today.
Really?
I just had it because some people will say, well, it doesn't matter because I don't have kids, but then they'll talk about resale. And I'm like, well, then you do need to maybe focus on certain areas.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So once you kind of have that, then we can like plug this search into the MLS and then sign you up for the portal. And then you get like access to MLS via the portal based on your search criteria. And then, you know, you start getting these emails of like, you know, these houses that fall into your criteria. And then you just let us know, like, these are the 6 places I want to see this Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll meet you at Purgatory for Bloody Marys. and then we'll hit it.
So I think that's the other thing too, that I think that I never realized would be okay and normal would be to like, oh, it's okay to maybe pick a half dozen places and take a day and go look at them. And it's okay to be patient and take your time, not like commit yourself to just one place or ask people for help and all that stuff.
I know one of my first clients, that was the suggestion is if you do know that there are several places that you want to look at or certain areas. So I'm not really sure which area I want to live, but I like these houses in this area and I like these houses in this area. Then it's probably a good idea to take that day off or to carve out some time, not try to piecemeal it, because by the time you get to the third house, there's already an offer on all the other ones. You know, it becomes a little bit more challenging in this market.
That's the challenging and stressful part is, and hence the pre-approval. Like you want to be able to like have your finger on the trigger. So when you see that place, it's like, boom, we're submitting an offer right now. Like I got my laptop here, boom, 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 e-signatures, boom. We get that pre-approval, we get the sales contract in there, we get the seller's disclosure in there, we get all the documents that need to be submitted, your hand money check, boom, get all that in there right then and there.
It's so funny. I feel like, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I feel like there's this thing where it's like you have to be insanely patient and ready to just be like fucking Speedy Gonzalez.
It's always just hurry up and wait.
Yeah,
like,
it's going to take, you know, it seems like from my understanding of this, it's like, okay, be ready to do nothing financially for like 4 months, probably total. And just be ready to just like pull the trigger as soon as you see something. So it's like, you have to take all this time to think about what you want. But as soon as you see it, like, how long do you have to really think on it?
I fell into that. He'll be the first to tell you, especially as an investor. If you're wishy-washy about it and you even give it more than a moment's extra thought, there are seasoned investors with cash money ready to go. There's
still buy sight unseen stuff. You know, I have out of state investors like that where there's like, you know, I'll do like a video tour. Like, how's it everything look over there, Stefan? Like, oh, this is pretty solid. You should do it. And boom, you know, like, or maybe like a FaceTime thing or something like that. But there's people that just.
So on either side, a regular home sale or an investor piece. You definitely have to be ready to go and ready to pull the trigger, because in this market right now, it's in really in any investor market anytime, but in this market right now, things are just there's multiple offers. And
the thing to keep, the nice peace of mind is like you might be like jumping the gun and putting an offer in like right there that day on something that you haven't even like really thought about. But the thing is you're submitting it with these contingencies, these home inspection contingencies. So if there's like anything that comes up on the home inspection report, you could technically use that to get out of the deal. But you're still going to be spending the $400 on the home inspection in order to have that luxury, you know, to bail on it.
I don't know if you want to do that with a half dozen places, but
exactly. So
Right.
I've done it, where I got a home inspection by an inspector, like just like a verbal one without like an FYI kind of thing, especially for myself, for like these investment properties. But like I said, once you do these home inspections like so many times over and over again, you kind of know what to look for. And after 10 years of doing this, I know. So if it's for myself, I don't even get them anymore. If I'm buying like a $45 shit box that I'm going to flip or something, like, there's no point. He's going to be like,
because you're changing it all anyways.
Yeah. This outlet doesn't work. Okay. Well, I don't care.
Yeah.
Or you know what? The utilities aren't even on to test any of that shit. That's the scariest part about it is like the day after you close, you call the utility companies, or if you're really like savvy like Kelly, you call like 3 days before you close and have it all lined up. She already has all the account numbers written down.
Yeah.
But then you get these utilities turned on, and it's like, it's almost like Christmas, you like get to find out like what really works. Oh, wow, this furnace actually works. Cool. That's like a freebie. And like, oh, cool. Like maybe I won't have to rewire this whole house. I just saved myself 15 grand. Yay. And just finding out, like, and then you find out, oh, guess what? This place doesn't even have a gas line coming from the fucking street. And, then you get to pay to have a new gas line put in, so it's all these like surprises and shit. I mean, one thing I do recommend though, if you're an investor and you're buying a place, no matter what, like one thing you can do that will save you money in the long run is get the sewer scope. Like, even if there isn't, like, I guess water does have to be on for that. And well, I guess, yeah. But that's a big one. That's a good one. Because I mean, if you're buying like an investment property for 45 grand and the sewer line's crushed, I mean, like you know that from personal experience too. How much did you pay for that?
Oh my God.
Like 20 grand. But that's like something I've been like really kind of like advocating now lately, is like, cause it's like, I think it's like $90.
Yeah.
And that's something you really can't tell right off the bat, is, or you can't see visually.
Yeah.
Like from, cause it's all underground.
I feel like we could do a whole podcast on just investing.
Yeah.
Like really just that piece of it. Like the do's and don'ts, horror stories, things that have worked, I think that's a whole other separate arm to the real estate piece.
Yeah. So we help people do these flips too, where we help them find the place. We supply the contractors to get it fixed up for them. And then at the end of it, get it rented out for them, or sell it for them, put it back on the market for them. So that's a whole other thing, because, we're then more like, we're like dealing with all the contractors too that they're hiring, and we're making sure that these contractors are doing what they're supposed to and things like that. So that gets to be like almost like a little babysitting operation. Sure. Because, they do a great job, but, they kind of start veering off and doing their own thing. And so you kind of have to like supervise that too. So sometimes we'll do like a project management fee rather than a property management fee.
Okay.
Right.
So that's also a whole other little side niche.
Yeah. And boy, I can speak upon, I could speak on that topic.
What? Like beating up the contractors? No. Callie has a special whip.
Project manager.
Or
special shoes.
Yeah.
That's not true at all.
I think that, there's been so much that we've talked about today that camera's actually died at this point, which is really funny. No. That's okay. It happens. That camera's still on, so I'll just look up there whenever I need to talk at it. But for now, I'm just going to leave it on you two. And we're going to wrap this up because we've been going plenty long enough. We've said all of the things that I think people need to say, people need to hear, people are interested in. If you want to find out more, where can people find you? You go to the beautifully Brian Sykes Howe designed website. You go to this furry website, right? Furby. There you go. Not furries. Oh yeah. Don't go to the furry website. I mean, you can if you want. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah. ArkhamRealty.com. And
all our social media platforms and aspects. I think that's another like thing I want to like leave on is like that's how we're different also with how much we go above and beyond with the social media aspect of things, as far as like advertising people's listings and, you know, doing like little funny videos like, hey, we're at this listing, check it out. And
hey, here's our GIF that we have on our website.
Yeah, we're a puppet show.
Right?
Look at us dancing and wiggling around. Thanks, Brian.
Hey,
thanks for gifting us.
You asked for this.
It's true.
You asked for this.
I sent that to Dwayne from Key Ramen, and it was the one that you made that just says like hello. And he like came back out of the kitchen. He's like, why does this even exist? Yeah. Remind me to tell you about Balloon Fest 86.
Okay.
On that note.
We'll do.
Yeah.
Well, I can't
thanks
really.
for having us.
Oh, you're super welcome.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, totally. I think it's great what you're doing, and you're nice people, and I wish nothing but the best for you.
Thanks so much.
And if I ever buy a goddamn house, I want neither of you to be involved.
That's great, man. Thank you.
I'll make sure that I don't eat or drink for a month beforehand, so I can offset it.
So yeah, all the brunches, all the Bloody Marys, and quiches and scrambles.
I'll be prepared.
Scrambles.
I guess, man, I need to figure out the battery life on that camera over there, because now I got to look up at that one. But that is all, folks. Thanks so much for listening. One more time, Steffi.
Oh, Steffi.
Stefan, Kelly, Arkham Realty. Thank you for being here. I'll be back again next week with another episode. Same time, same place, same channel. You know the drill. My name is Sykes. Start the beat 2020. Woo, woo. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.